And this is the classic story of relationships nowadays. And the whole problem is with choosing the wrong partner from the beginning because we look for potential. We don't look for a guy who we see a guy and we don't see what he is. We see what we want him to be. You understand? There's a big difference. And then we get disappointed. And then we feel we have to step it up because we have this lousy husband who's lying on the sofa all day.
I pick it up. I pick it up. Pick it up.
Howdy, everyone. It's your host, Polly Siegel. And for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm a licensed clinical social worker, certified addiction specialist, and master level trained mindfulness practitioner. I own a counseling practice in both Colorado and Illinois, and I specialize in trauma, OCD, and anxiety. If you live in either of those two states, feel free to reach out to me for a consultation and we can begin the therapeutic journey together. Now on to the good shit. Welcome to season 3 of Shit Talkin' Shrinks. Gosh, I'm so excited. I will be featuring experts in the healing space, and we're discussing a variety of mental health topics, the human experience, and society at large, while creating levity along the way. Get ready to laugh, learn a lot, and change your life for good. Hello, everyone, for another fabulous episode of Shit Talking Shrinks. And it's the first time that I have a repeat guest because I couldn't get enough of her. You are so delicious.
You're so sweet.
Truly. I needed more.
I'm so happy to be back.
I'm happy to have you.
I needed more too because you're my favorite person to talk to.
You know what? If anyone is not watching our YouTube channel, you can see our faces. We are madly in love. Actually, we're not going to date anyone else. We're going to date each other now.
Exactly.
Okay, enough of me totally starstruck. Again, today we have Esther Sarphatie, relationship advisor, wellness consultant, TikTok star, Instagram star. And honestly, our episode got the most downloads out of any episode that I've ever created.
I'm so honored.
I didn't tell you that, but got the most downloads.
Believe it. Thank you so much. Thank your audience. Oh my goodness. I'm very honored. I feel very humbled as well.
Can you believe that? Like, I swear, we had over 2,000 downloads within the first 48 hours.
Well, thank you, everybody who did that. I mean, I'm super, super grateful, really.
Me too. I'm the lucky one.
Amazing, amazing, just amazing.
And again, this is more maybe unconventional, controversial take, but Esther and I were talking about how women have really entered into, in a traditional sense, the man's world, right? Like we were fierce to get into the workforce and to do it all and to become as women providers ourselves. And we entered into their sphere, their world, fiercely. Yet there hasn't been the same dedication or maybe desire or motivation to jump into what's conventionally the woman's world, a caretaker, more nurturing role, domesticated at the house. And so I want to know your thoughts on this, Esther.
Okay, this is such a huge topic. I mean, this is also a very complicated topic, right? But let's try to analyze it in an easy and logical way. So my mom, for example, belonged to those women who would work and would also take care of the house and would take care of the kids. And in those days that I grew up, this was very normal. And even kids who were born in the 80s and in the 90s grew up probably, most likely, with that kind of mom, a mom who was like doing it all. Those were the first women who really wanted to set themselves free from being so incredibly dependent on men. And the vision women had then was to be more free financially, right? So they started to work in the workforce. So with that move, they basically became competitive in the men's world. So men are by nature very competitive creatures, right? Men, if they fight, they will fight to win, or if they lose, they will accept that they have lost. But We women don't have this in our DNA. We don't think like that. We go out there and we battle and we fight to kill, for example. That's how men think, but we don't think like that. So I think that part of us didn't really realize what we were actually doing by trying to compete with men. I don't think we really analyzed who our competitors actually were and what they were capable of. So now these women, also my mom, was in this men's world and also trying to be the feminine, the nurturing, good mom to keep up with the homework of the kids, to keep the house clean, to make food every day, because in those days women were also cooking. So the new generation, the kids who were born like in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, those kids were like, oh my goodness, I'm not going to do all that. I want to work. I want to be free. I want to be out there in the world and make my own money. And I want to be independent. But I don't want to also be home and do everything at home alone. I want this guy who I'm with to help me out there. But men never ever express the wish to enter the woman's world. There's no man on earth who will tell you, oh, I love to do housework. I love to cook. Okay, there are a few exceptions, I'm sure, but I love to go to work and then I love to come home and help out in the house and help with the kids and help cook and all that. So it's become a very complicated, very troubled society because women, we have all these expectations from men. Men don't want to deliver all these things that women want. Men find women needy, difficult. Men nowadays find that women want it all. And maybe women do, but women cannot realize like men do. Men understand. This is again this concept of women winning and losing. Men understand that you cannot have it all. So a man will accept that his role is to go out in the world and get money, right? Make money. If he doesn't go to work, he's not respected by society. He's seen as a loser. So he understands that concept. Like, I have to work and I have to make money. A woman doesn't think like that. So we think we can do it all. We think we can work, bring money, be pretty, have kids, have the household, and that, okay, the guy will help us out and everything will be okay. And that's a big misunderstanding nowadays, I think, because it doesn't work in reality. And that's why there's so incredibly much divorce.
In your opinion, Esther, why were women so quickly drawn to jump into the traditional conventional man's world, but there's so little interest of men to do the same?
I think, to be very honest, I think it's just not in their DNA. And also, don't forget, for as long as we know, men never had to play that role. So women have changed rapidly since the Second World War. During the Second World War was actually the first time in human history, of what I know from my history lessons from school, right? That women were working in the factories because all the men were killing each other during the war, right? So the factories were empty. There was nobody to work. The fields were empty. There was nobody to work. So women had to step it up. So this was their first like introduction with how it feels to actually work. So after the Second World War, jumping ahead 20 years, 20, 30 years, women actually wanted to work because women didn't want to feel that all they could be was like a mom and stay at home and take care of the house, and also life became way more modern. So everybody had a car, you had a washing machine, you had a TV. So there wasn't also so much to do anymore in the house. The women didn't have to go to the fields and pick the potatoes to make dinner. They would just buy them in the supermarket. So everything became more convenient for women, and women wanted to be independent. But men have never asked for this. Men have never told women, you have to go out there and work. Men have not changed as fast as women have. That's a problem. So we women, the last 50 years, we've changed so much. If you go back 50 years, young girls now won't recognize even the way women looked then, the way women were dressed, the way women were not supposed to show any skin, the way women were supposed to stay home and cook and take care of the kids. Young girls now, they're like, what? That's how those women lived. And that's only 50 years ago. And men just have not changed that fast. So men are now trying to adjust and adapt to what we want. because they can't do anything else, right? But it's not exactly what they wish. And men also don't trust women. That's another problem. They trust a woman's opinion, but because a man has a logical mind, they often think that we women have a very chaotic way of thinking and that we're not good at decision making at work, for example. So if a woman has a very high position, she is a CEO of whatever of a big company, you will see men, if you really ask them, right, honestly, what do you think about that, of her being there? Of course, there will be men who respect it and will tell you good for her and wow and amazing what she has done, her career and all that. But there will also be many men who will be skeptical if that woman, when she has her period, will she be able to take the correct decisions because her mind will be even more chaotic because of hormonal influence? Because we women very often don't know how to express our feelings. So we say what we think, but we don't say what we feel. And that's where the chaos comes in. And men don't get us anymore. They don't understand what we're talking about. So this whole thing of, us women trying to get into their world has created many obstacles, also for women, but also for men.
Mm.
We women feel that we are um, allowed that to demand their respect because we do the same things that they do. But, you know, it's all about us. They don't want us there in the to the extent that we've entered their world. And there's another thing. A woman earns a lot of money nowadays, right? Not all women, but many women do. So in the dating world, the issues that this creates for men, because they feel like, oh my goodness, if I want to date a modern woman who's working and who's, having a career, I need a ton of money to be able to even date her because she will have such high expectations that I will have to level up financially to what she expects me to deliver. Because now he's not the only provider in the household, it's the woman as well. So that's another issue. His whole ego gets bruised through this.
Do you feel that because women have rapidly evolved and because we have entered into their sphere in a way that was maybe unpredictable or unanticipated by a man, that there is this competitiveness that has developed where men are trying to preserve their ego and their masculinity because they feel that women are now threatening their masculinity and their competency and their abilities?
Definitely. What happens is the following, that we women think men are not masculine anymore. They are lazy. Men feel intimidated. There is no space for the men to be the men because we have become like men. Our attitude has become like men. We talk like men, we live like men, we do what men do. We are so free. We don't need men anymore, basically, right? Not even if you want to produce kids. You can do that all by yourself nowadays. So they feel intimidated, they feel useless. What is their role in society right now, right? And the confusing part for me is the following. I hear this every day, Pauline. So young and independent women, right, who make their own money, and they make a lot of money, some women, right? They have their own home, they look beautiful because they do all these beauty treatments nowadays that makes them even look more gorgeous. And they want to date a guy, but they want a guy who has a provider mindset. So the money that these girls make or young women make, they want their money for themselves, but they want the guy to be the provider and to give them more money and to provide for everything they need in the household. So then I talk to men who tell me, is this fair? This is not fair. We are supposed to make even more money because we are competing now with her salary, but she wants to keep her own money for herself, but my money should be for both of us. So I don't even know what to say. How do you solve that?
Hmm. Well, I think what it is that women inherently believe that we are deserving to receive what they provide.
Yes, which is great.
I think collectively, and this is evolutionarily and has a biological component to it, that women look for safety, and safety comes, if we're talking in heterosexual terms here, comes from a man who's able to provide and has social status and is going to be able to keep that woman and the children safe, right? So and you can call it whatever you want, whether you want to call her a gold digger or platinum handcuffs, whatever those terms, they're out there. But I think the truth is that we want to feel safe and that he's going to be able to provide and meet our needs. But now we're in a position where we're meeting our own needs. And so that dependency isn't as tangible. But then we're wanting men to be able to add to our safety, which then becomes just like this luxury or plush cushion, but don't necessarily want to give there's not the same urge to want to provide safety financially for them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love your expression of this plush cushion. It's really true that maybe it wouldn't be as bad if men would find this normal, right? But men think that this is like taking advantage of them, you know? They're like, okay, we're supposed to just give you everything you want. That's it. So again, what is their role exactly? Just to give money? Because it has our society now, it's a lot about money. I talk to so many women every day, and I'm surprised every time. All they care about is more money because they make their own money and they know now how it feels to have money. They smell money, they feel how good it is to spend money and to be able to do that and to buy yourself a car and to go on a nice vacation. So they look for men who can add to that lifestyle. They don't look for an equal partner to build a life together and to have a nice home and to cook and nurture your kids, and he will make sure you're safe and all that. And technology also doesn't help men nowadays. It's harder for men, the whole dating thing, than for women because we women have become even more independent through technology. You can order anything you want online. You can call anybody to come and help you. You can get a plumber online or whatever. You don't need a husband in the house, to fix something. You understand what I mean? So technology also doesn't help. So this whole attitude that we women have means that we've stepped more in our masculine energy, if you want to put it like that. And men, they've lost their role in society. And that's why they've become lazy. They don't want to try anymore. That's why there are so many women out there and they tell me, this guy dated me, but he didn't really make an effort. Yeah, because they don't want to make an effort. And it's very sad, right? But it has partly to do with the fact that they don't feel that they have the space to show who they are, to make that effort, because it's not appreciated anymore.
I want to take a quick pause to talk about our sponsor, a company called BetterHelp. It's an online therapy platform where all the therapists are licensed and accredited professionals. It's affordable. You pay a low flat fee for therapy with your therapist, and it's convenient. Do it at your own time and at your own pace, and you can communicate with your therapist as much as you want and whenever you feel is needed. And more importantly, it's effective. Thousands of people have benefited from therapy using BetterHelp, and we're really grateful to offer all of our listeners 10% off your first month. So if you're interested in receiving therapy ASAP, click the link in our show notes and you can get started. And you get to save money. Here's the tricky part, because I also, after our first episode, received a lot of feedback for women that were intrigued by what we were talking about, but resistant and wanted to, kind of shut it down inherently. And what I kept hearing was the fact that they are not willing to adapt is not my problem. I shouldn't have to change because they are idiots, or they're not willing to accept the evolved woman, or they're not accustomed or willing to adapt to who women are today. There was this sentiment of not my fucking problem. So what do you do with that? If that's the position of women of, I'm sorry that these guys are just losers, that's not my problem. But then the men are feeling inadequate, or they're feeling shame, or they're feeling like I don't have a space to provide and demonstrate my masculine energy. What do you do to fill the gap?
Well, maybe nowadays women feel that it's not their problem, but in the very near future, we will feel that it is our problem because the result of what's been happening now for many, many years, and this is a gradual process, right, will be that you will see more and more women alone, childless, and not married. And that's a real issue. That's not something I'm saying. It's not something I figured out. This is something that you read in every research that's being done at the moment. And that's just because things have developed like this, you know? And also, if you have that attitude, like it's not my problem, that again shows how much you are in your masculine energy, right? That's a very aggressive masculine statement. That's not being in your feminine. And the truth is, because I've tested this, and not just me, it's like a thing that's really, really the way it is. The more you are leaned into your feminine energy, the more you will be able to let in a man who's in his masculine energy. So if you are a young woman and you're working and doing, and you have this attitude like, not my problem. He's a loser. You know, this guy, oh, he's not worth it because he didn't text me or whatever. You know, if he doesn't text me every day, I am not into him or whatever women say. Then what's going to happen is that you'll end up alone. And then we'll talk again. You understand what I mean? So what's the point of all this? And if you have this aggressive attitude, then you push men away. This is how it is. And I'm not, sometimes people tell me, women obviously tell me, you are just pro men. I'm not pro men. I'm pro everybody. I just wish that people figure it out in their relationships. And that's also my mission, to help people. I'm not here to tell you like, oh, we women do it all wrong and men do it all right. It's not like that. But men are creatures of habit. It's way more difficult for them to adjust to this, you know, what women want, because they never asked for this.
Well, here's what's coming up for me in this conversation is that I think a lot of women are forced into masculine energy because their partner isn't bringing the masculine energy to the dynamic. So I would also argue that women have to step into these more dominant, aggressive, stereotypical manly roles because of feeling like they can't trust their partner to step up, feeling like their partner isn't going to show up, feeling like their partner is continuing to show these inadequacies. And women are like, well, if he's not going to do it, well, then I guess I fucking have to do it. So that's the catch 22 of this. They're not bringing the masculine energy, which forces women to step into it. But then they're all like, oh, my masculinity. It's like, well, you didn't even bring the masculine energy to begin with. And I know I'm getting fired up here, but but those are my thoughts. Tell me what's coming up for you.
No, no, no. It's good you say this. This is a very, very good point that you just made, because this is this question, like what came first, the chicken or the egg? I hear this all the time. Some people argue like, yeah, but they are not in their masculine energy, these men, so we have to step it up. What can we do? And the other way around, men blame women for, you know, whatever. So I think the following: we have to choose wisely. That's where you start with, right? That's the beginning of every relationship. If we as women choose men based on fantasies, because that's what we often do, because we read too many books, we watch too many movies, and if you look at every movie, every rom-com that I was watching during the Christmas period is about the guy going through hell and back to win her heart. And she is like pretty and waiting and discussing with her girlfriends. Will he text? Will he call? Whatever. Anyway, he does all the work. And then, ta-da, they get married. And this is what women subconsciously have as an image of a guy. So a woman grows up as a little girl in a household where she's being taught that daddy knows, daddy decides, daddy is the man in the house. So she goes out there not knowing really who she actually is and what she's actually looking for. She's looking for a potential. So she meets a guy, she sees the potential in this guy. And if he has a decent salary, he looks good, he dresses well, he has the right profession, they live in the right neighborhood, whatever, then she will go for it. and they marry for the wrong reasons. And then this guy turns out to be, not doing much. And then she feels that she has to be in her masculine energy and take over the role of everything because he just doesn't help. And this woman starts to nag and it gets even worse. And this is the classic story of relationships nowadays. And the whole problem is with choosing the wrong partner from the beginning because we look for potential. We don't look for a guy who we see a guy and we don't see what he is. We see what we want him to be. You understand? There's a big difference. And then we get disappointed. And then we feel we have to step it up because we have this lousy husband who's lying on the sofa all day.
Hmm.
No, I think I would wish so much for this to happen because, yeah, in schools, we learn a lot. I'm not saying that schools are wrong, but we don't learn basic things about life. We don't learn the questions you have to ask yourself before you enter adulthood. Who are you? What do you want? What kind of person are you? What are you all about? What's your vision of life? What do you think you want to do in life? All we learn is you have to be happy, have a job, and get married or something like that. It's so basic. And we have all this knowledge, all these books nowadays. And we should be so much better because of that in relationships. And we are worse than we ever were.
No, I hear what you're saying. And I think what is sad is that what you're saying is so accurate that it is inherently sad.
It's very sad. It's very sad.
It's the truth that we don't want. It's depressing. It's depressing what you're saying. And I know, obviously, I'm saying that in no way directed towards you. It's just the reality is it's depressing to see that we're here as women. If anyone's watching the YouTube, you're seeing my hand gestures. We're here because we've evolved and they're here. And there's this giant gap between where they are versus where we are. And there's not willingness on either side to try to meet in the middle. If women are having the perspective of it's not my problem, men just suck and they need to grow the fuck up and become a man and all these things that we say, and then men feel paralyzed or they feel catatonic by women or they feel so emasculated by women that it turns into paralysis. Well, that's a huge problem because you have men who are paralyzed and want to give up. You have women that are like, it's not my problem. Then how do we go about solving for this issue?
You are so right. I love the words you use. You're so smart. I admire you. We solve this issue by both parties and men and women trying to meet in the middle because we can't go back, right? We can't live like we used to live in the 50s, and many women were also very unhappy then. So it's a good thing that women have the freedom nowadays to be educated if they want to go out and work if they want to dress the way they want to have kids or not if they want to marry or not if they want whatever, to do whatever they want. And it's a good thing that men have to step it up also a little bit, help a little bit more in the household. Why should this only fall on the shoulders of the woman? But I think that women in general have to tone it down a little bit. I think we've become very loud. We don't need to scream off the rooftops how amazing it is that we're so happy being single. I see these videos on TikTok and I want to pull my hair out. Women find this an amazing accomplishment, apparently, that you're so happy being single because we don't need men. This is like, this is exactly what we shouldn't do. Why scream about it? Just tone it down and give a bit more space to the men to, instead of like cursing them and pointing out only the bad stuff about them, which exactly what you said emasculates men. Give them a little bit more space and see what happens, because I'm 100% certain if we tone it down a little bit, they will step up. But if we keep pushing and, screaming how amazing we are and we can do it all and you're a boss bitch and all these expressions we have invented, I mean, men are just intimidated. They're paralyzed. They're like, oh my God, these women are all fucking nuts.
That's funny.
It's kind of what I hear on a daily basis. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you do, but here's what I'm anticipating our viewership about to say, and maybe this is just the way my brain works because I'm always thinking one step ahead. I think we're going to hear, well, why does it have to fall on us to tone it down? Why do women have to take the first step and pull back and be a little bit more gentle? And why can't men take the first step of just being more masculine and step into their provider energy? Why does it fall on us?
I'll tell you why. First of all, again, if we as women say that, then what we basically say is that we are these victims. We are these, um, soft women who, why should we take the blame for everything? We are not victims, right? We are in control of our lives. We are responsible for our choices, like men are too. But why we should tone it down is the following. If you go back 30 years, 40 years, even 20 years, men were better then. They were still calling women, making an effort, taking her out, writing her letters, sending letters from the other end of the world. Now they don't even text anymore. Duh. So what changed? We did. Most of the changing has been done by women. So it's so easy to just step it down a bit because you will see that men will then go back to how they used to be. Not completely, obviously, because you cannot change things and go back like how it used to be. But you will give them space to show, their masculinity again. Because now there is no space, and they don't feel like showing their masculinity because they don't feel appreciated. Because we women, it's this other problem we have nowadays because we can't do everything ourselves. We find it like a minor effort if a guy sends you flowers. We don't find that like, oh my God, he sent flowers. No, it's like a normal thing. He should send flowers. He should send a car. Of course, he should know that my, level of living is that a guy has to send me a car. I mean, you understand what I'm saying? These are just examples of how our attitude is nowadays. If we would be more appreciative of the small things that men do, like thank him for a dinner, you know, thank him for the flowers, and also find that like really sweet and not immediately go to come to jump to conclusions and say that, okay, whatever, he sent me flowers. So what? 10 other men sent me flowers. You know, that's exactly the attitude we should drop.
I want to circle back to something you said because, back in, let's use the 50s, right, where men were calling and texting and maybe showing up in more honorable ways and more impressive ways, and women were more grateful for the way that they showed up and felt admired the way they showed up. But here's where I wonder if there's also a shift that has nothing to do with women, but the fact that back then they didn't have dating apps. They didn't have access to thousands of women. So there was more of a dedication to want to put in the effort and to want to put more eggs in one basket because of just access or limitation to access. So I hear you. I think women's attitudes play a big role where we've become a little bit more disgusted by men, and men feel that disgust or they feel that dismissal of their effort. But wouldn't you say that dating apps maybe play just as much of a role in terms of how that has shifted men's presentation?
Yeah, dating apps, in my opinion, have not helped a lot. The issue with dating apps is really what you said. It's this illusion of having all these options. And because men are visual beings, they will get a kick out of anything that's beautiful, right? And men are also very, when a man sees a beautiful woman, he literally becomes more stupid. It's not something I say, it's just how it is. So that doesn't help, obviously. But I must say, a man who wants a relationship, who wants to build a life, because that man is a man who is in his masculine energy and he wants to build a career. He wants a wife next to him or a partner next to him who will support him, who will be there for him. He doesn't have time to be on dating apps and to date every week 3, 4, 5, 6 girls. So there are serious men out there who actually really look for a partner. But obviously, not all men are like that. We are disgusted by the part of men who are players, obviously. But those kind of men always existed. It's not because of the dating apps that suddenly everybody became a player. It's just that now it's more accessible for men, to reach out to many women at the same time and to keep it all very superficial and very light and not to commit because they don't have to commit. But again, they don't have to commit because we women wanted to be so free. We didn't want to be obliged to have to marry and produce 2 kids and stay at home all day. So now we have our freedom, which also means that men don't need to, be so such a gentleman and ask for our hands from our father within like 6 months to a year of dating. There is no pressure because we have set ourselves free from this. So again, it starts all with how we women have changed, you see.
It's easy to then internalize it as women are inherently the problem to this dysfunctional dynamic or what has unfolded in the dating world and within marriages, modern marriages, that it's women to blame, that because of their evolution, now it's wreaked havoc and it's been, chaos from that.
I don't think that we solely are the problem because I don't believe in that concept in general. There's always, there's never like she's the problem or he's the problem. We are all the problem. But I do believe that we basically tricked ourselves, we women, into believing that things would be better by taking the steps that we took. But now we start to see the results of that because you always need to have a few generations, to pass to see the results. Now we see the results that maybe it wasn't the smartest choice for us. And not for all women. There are obviously women who thrive and are super happy and they have compatible men in their lives with whom they are very, very happy. But there's also a big majority of young women, especially, who cannot seem to have get a serious relationship in their lives because somehow it doesn't work.
Well, and I want to emphasize too what you're saying. So, in my last relationship, my partner had said to me, you tend to emasculate me. And I imagine that is a common experience in most relationships these days because I am an entrepreneur and I have been highly successful and I tend to naturally exhibit more of stereotypical masculine traits. And I did feel that was a powerful moment where I did have to look inward and say, am I connected to my feminine energy? Like I didn't even take it as a critique. It was an opportunity to go, wait, what is my own connection to my feminine energy? And do I feel safe and connected to that energy? And the answer was no. And I think a lot of what you're offering in today's discussion too is can we as women begin to reconnect to feminine energy, because that ultimately might create more balance in the relationship or allow the relationship to have homeostasis again. There's an imbalance that's happening.
Yeah, the issue is, I think, the following, or one of the issues. So we have come so far as women, right? We've created this whole world in which we are so powerful nowadays. But what we never were able to create for ourselves is the feeling of safety. And that is what a woman needs to be able to lean into her feminine energy. That's the role of the man, to create a space where we feel safe. So men don't provide us this safety anymore. And that's why you get so aggressive then towards them. And that's when they feel emasculated. So that's even more a reason why we need to step back. Because only when you step back and you give space to this man to show you if he can give you this safety, right? It's the only way to find out. I'm not saying that, for example, you meet Mr. X tomorrow and you have an amazing relationship, but you don't feel safe. You don't feel that he does enough. He's just a little bit lazy. He's not so ambitious, blah, blah, blah. And you start to show him that in your attitude, that you dislike certain things about him. He will become more lazy, most likely. So if you step back and you show him appreciation for the little things he does, that's what all men want. It's quite simple what men actually expect from women. They want to be appreciated, they want to be respected, and they want to have their freedom to show this woman who they are or who they can be next to her. So if you, let's say, step back, then you can find out if he can provide you with this safety. Instead of before you've seen it, attack him, let's say, about it.
Mm.
There's also another thing that is really a problem that we have. That's a real problem we women have. Somehow, it's never enough for us. So a man gives you, I don't know, a bunch of flowers every week. It becomes a habit. Then he gives you, I don't know what he gives you, a lot of things. Everything for us women at some point becomes a habit. And we stop to see how good it is that, or how nice it is that he gives us these things or these flowers or whatever he gives us. That's a real problem we women have. All of us have this problem. You really have to have a wake up call every now and then and say, this guy is actually amazing because he does that and that and that. And even if it's small things.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I'm hearing is it's starting to find appreciation and gratitude in the things that you are receiving instead of always looking at what the deficits are.
Yes, we're very good at looking there.
Yeah, looking at the deficits for sure. What would you say are the top 3 tips that you want to offer listeners today based on our conversation?
So my top 3 tips would be for women to take a step back, like I said, meaning, what does that mean to take a step back? Not to be so loud about what we have accomplished. We use all these words, like I mentioned before, like boss bitch, um, powerful, women empowerment. Um, all these words have a certain aggression to them. And I don't think we need these words we don't need to explain, we don't need to show what we have accomplished. It shows by itself. So I think we should become a little bit more quiet. We don't need to be so aggressive. We can be all that we are and just be that. And I think that men shouldn't be mistrusting women so much. Men really don't trust women at all. Men don't trust women's feelings. They have no clue what to expect from women. So somebody should write a handbook for men what to expect from women. So they can actually, before they go into a relationship, have this list ready because they don't know. They have no clue. They just, take it as it is because we have changed so much that there's no more clear, you know, um, image of what a woman nowadays is all about. And women have to drop the expectations from men. Definitely. We expect too much. We really do. And the internet doesn't help because we look at all these images of people who have perfect lives and we think, oh, that woman, she has everything. Look at her. Look at how she lives. And we want that too. And that's wrong. It doesn't mean that this woman is so happy. All these images could also be fake, right? The internet, half of what we look at every day could be all fake. So we should drop it with the expectations. Be more grateful for what men actually give us. So not be so loud about what we have accomplished and all that we are and how amazing we are, and accept what a man can give you and appreciate what he gives you, and drop it with having all these expectations. You cannot expect a man to be a provider, to help with the kids, to help with the household, and to be a good lover, and also to be in a good mood all the time, and to listen to all your problems and give you advice on everything. It's too much to expect from one person. And men should learn what they actually should expect from a woman. And men should not be so aggressive towards women in the sense that they keep telling us all the time that, um, or showing us all the time that they don't trust us.
And I would add as a bonus tip that, like you said, because there's a gap, like women need to step back to be more in their feminine energy. Men also need to start exhibiting maybe more provider energy, masculine energy, create more safety in the relationship. And that if both two people are willing to do the work, for women to intentionally say, I'm going to try to step out of this intense, fierce masculine energy because I want you to have the opportunity to step into your masculine energy. And for a man to say, okay, you're right, I do need to step more into my masculine energy so that you can feel and receive and be open and be gentle and embody more of those feminine traits. I think it's a dance. It's a tango that two people have to intentionally look at each other and go, wait a second, this is dysfunctional. And we need to make a commitment to doing the dance differently or to relearn the dance.
You are so right. Instead of just attacking each other, which is what we do right now, and show how incredibly disappointed we are, and every man is an asshole and every woman is a spoiled gold digger or whatever, try to find a solution. I think that should be the next step because we can. There is hope. Right now it's sad. I agree. I totally agree. But it doesn't mean that it has to stay sad. It's all in our hands. But we should both try, like you mentioned very correctly.
Ah, what a fascinating conversation.
This touches all of us, and this makes many people upset. And I don't want to upset anybody, obviously, but I really believe that we should all try, to make relationships more functional for the future.
No, I agree with you. And as much as you experienced my fierceness, right, the natural tendency to want to defend women and to, it's because I am one. And you and I are both women, and there should be a lot of pride and empowerment in how women have developed and grown. I in no way do I want to give the impression I want to dampen our evolution. I think our evolution brings a lot of beauty. And it also creates a hard dynamic with men. And that's also the reality that accompanies the empowerment is, yes, there's so much power behind women. And there is also the consequence of men feeling how they feel and it creating a gap in how we interface with one another. So my hope is that if you found this interesting and relatable, and I'm sure it made you uncomfortable. I think a lot of women that are going to listen to this are going to feel uncomfortable, and that's okay. Because I think in the discomfort, we start to become introspective, and introspectiveness is everything. So take time to reflect, marinate in what we processed today. You're going to agree with some things and you're going to think other things are trash, and that's okay too. But hopefully there are some nuggets that you can take with you to really try to process all of what unfolded today. So thank you, Esther. Oh, thank you for joining me again and spending your time with me.
Thank you so much. I had such a great time with you. I really had. Thank you so much for having me again on your amazing podcast. Thank you.
Okay, we'll catch everyone later.
Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up.